Hello again, I'm Robert Fithitt. You know, it doesn't always happen with me, but it happens sometimes. But if you're one of the cool kids, it should never happen. What I'm talking about is when your favorite album by a particular artist or a group is also their most commercially successful album. Now, when you're one of the cool kids, that's just not a thing. It doesn't happen. But I'm not one of the cool kids. I'm basically a big dork, I guess. So there are instances, and I will go ahead and divulge those now, when actually my favorite album by a group or an artist is actually also their most commercially successful. Let's just get one of the big ones out of the way. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Now, I'm a huge fan of their very first album with Syd Barrett, and I love a lot of their other ones, Animals, The Wall, Metal. I even like some of their more obscure ones as well. Remember a Day from Saucerful of Secrets, incredible, one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs. I could go on, but overall, this is my favorite Pink Floyd album. I find it the most consistent. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. It's a reason it was on the charts for, 100 years, and, it's sold. It's one of the most popular albums of all time. That was not an accident. This is actually a U.S. first pressing, a Wally pressing too. And yeah, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, absolutely incredible. Definitely my favorite Pink Floyd album out of all of theirs, and obviously it is their biggest selling album. Speaking of selling, they've just come out with the 30th or the 50th anniversary of this, and wow, what a cover! Who designed this? It's got that really awesome looking vinyl, so the visual aspect of this particular release is supposed to be kind of a big deal. And then they put this cover on it with this huge, just basic font. It looks like that movie poster. What was the movie poster that was just big? Was it The Social Network? Maybe it wasn't, but yeah, I don't like that at all. But anyway, I do like Dark Side of the Moon, or The Dark Side of the Moon, whichever way you want to call it, from Pink Floyd. It's my favorite Pink Floyd album. I've already done an album ranking for Jefferson Airplane. It's one of the few album ranking videos I've ever done was for Jefferson Airplane. So if you've seen that video, you already know. Yeah, Surrealistic Pillow is my favorite Jefferson Airplane album. It is the one, of course, that has White Rabbit and Somebody to Love. They're two huge hits. If somebody doesn't really know anything about album tracks or really doesn't know anything about Jefferson Airplane, those are probably the only two songs they know. And they're both on this album. But this album's got so many other incredible songs on here. It starts off with this quirky song called She Has Funny Cars. You're my best friend. Sounds like almost something from a TV show. Today you get the tender side of Marty Ballin. Also, DCB A25, the instrumental. I absolutely love Plastic Fantastic Lover, Embryonic Journey, the great acoustic instrumental. And my favorite song on here kicks off side 2, 3/5 of a Mile in 10 seconds. Very Marty heavy. I love albums of Jefferson Airplane like that. And just like Pink Floyd, there's a lot of other Jefferson Airplane albums I really love. After Bathing with Baxters, I think is a very underrated. I really like the first one, especially certain songs in there. I'm not too keen about the female vocalist, the Signe Anderson at that time, but yeah, the Crown of Creation. There's a lot of great Jefferson Airplane albums, but this is my favorite. And of course, they're most commercially successful. I've mentioned before in the Prince video I did, Purple Rain, Prince and the Revolution, my absolute favorite Prince album. 1999 would be a close second, but of course 1999, a huge seller as well. But this is his most commercially successful album, his biggest seller. Of course, you had the movie with it, the first R-rated movie that I ever saw in a theater. Never will forget that memory. Purple Rain from Prince and the Revolution. Not only do I have this one, I have the reissue on purple vinyl, the remastered one. I have the remastered CD. I have the original CD. Cassette is actually the way I was introduced to this, and I still have my original cassette. It's pretty much worn out. I listened to this over and over and over and over and over and over again when it was out. It was my favorite album. It's definitely one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time by anybody, and it's definitely my favorite Prince album, Purple Rain. I didn't get really a chance to really hear a lot of his later stuff. I wasn't familiar with a lot of it until just recently when I came upon a lot of his vinyl reissues of later albums at an estate sale and bought them all up and listened to them and made a video about that. So if you're a big Prince fan, check out that video, please, and see if you agree with my assessment of some of his later albums that I actually kind of skipped out on all those years, and I'm glad I finally caught up with some of those Prince albums, but this one's still far and away my favorite Prince. Well, I won't say far and away. 1999 and this one, far and away, my two favorite Prince albums. Love Controversy, love Dirty Mind, love Sign of the Times. Once he came out with this, and then Around the World in a Day came out, I was kind of like this with Prince. Like, Around the World in a Day, oh, okay, Parade, all right, Parade, okay, Love Sexy, oh, Sign of the Times. And then it was like, and when he came out with that thing about, whatever, this is the Symbol album? My name is Prince, and then he was a gangster. Prince was always such an innovator. That's the thing. And when that Symbol album came out, it seemed like he was trying to catch up with the trends. And that, I don't like Prince like that. I like Prince being ahead of the pack. And so it was kind of like this with Prince, but the Symbol album I kind of gave up on him and for years. But yeah, this still rules. Every song sounds different. My favorite kind of album when that happens, when it's not just the same sound over and over. Very diverse sounds on here. What a masterstroke from Prince. Okay, as I mentioned, I can't even eat lunch at your table anymore. I'm so uncool with my favorite albums from these bands, and this one is another one of the big ones, like the Pink Floyd. Are you ready for my favorite Led Zeppelin album? You can probably guess what it is. It's this one, the Untitled album from 1971. Also known as Led Zeppelin IV. But yeah, this is my favorite Led Zeppelin album. I went back and forth for years between this one and Houses of the Holy, but now that the dust has settled, my Led Zeppelin discovery days are well behind me. Led Zeppelin's putting out output is way beyond that. But yeah, this is going to be the favorite. Yeah, I mean, these songs I've had to play on rock radio over and over and over and over and over again, but they didn't get old. Black Dog got a little old, but rock and roll still. I mean, come on. The song Rock and Roll, Stairway to Heaven is an absolute classic. The people will go to that and say it gets played on the radio all the time. That's not really true. Stairway to Heaven does not get played on the radio all the time. It might have got played all the time in the 70s or something, but it does not get played on the radio all the time. For one thing, it's too long to do that. And it really only gets played in rock formats, whereas some of their other songs, like All My Love, Fool in the Rain, they get played on like adult hit stations as well. So, yeah, and Black Dog sometimes, and Jamaica. Whereas Stairway to Heaven, that's classic rock. An adult hit station is not going to touch that. It's too long. And so, yeah, Stairway to Heaven is on here. When the Levee Breaks, incredible. Misty Mountain Hop. I mean, come on. Misty Mountain Hop's on here. Done. We're done. Led Zeppelin IV is my favorite Led Zeppelin album. But what about my favorite Beach Boys album? Well, you know, a lot of people's favorite Beach Boys album is, of course, Pet Sounds, but personally, I don't have a favorite Beach Boys album. What's wrong with you? But I would like to take this time to thank my new friend Bob, who came all the way from Indiana to buy my copy of Pet Sounds at a recent St. Louis record show. Thank you so much, Bob. He really said he did. He wanted to buy my copy so he could give it a good home that would appreciate it, and I appreciate that. I also had Steely Dan's Asia, but he did not. Even Bob apparently has limits. So again, thank you very much for that, and hopefully Pet Sounds is where it needs to be now. How about Radiohead? OK Computer is my favorite Radiohead album, and I'm so uncool, I only have it on CD. I've discussed this many times about how this is a CD to me, not a vinyl record, and I've had this CD since it was... Actually, this is the promotional copy. This is actually pre-release. I've had this OK Computer from Radiohead. I remember the first time I heard this, Radiohead streamed it on their website. I was, again, working at a radio station, so I had access to a huge soundboard, and that was connected to the internet. So what I did was I recorded it, the whole thing, on a sound wave through this huge professional soundboard, and then burned a CD of it. This was the early days of burning CDs, and it had like buffering problems, and it was just a really bad way to. But I listened to that over and over again until I finally got the actual copy, like a week and a half later or whatever, when this came in the mail, and then the album was released like 2 days later. But yeah, I don't think this is supposed to be your favorite Radiohead album anymore. I think you're not a real Radiohead fan if this is your favorite Radiohead album. That's what the cool kids say, but we've established at this point, I'm obviously not one of the cool kids. So, OK Computer, you want me to go even further than that? Karma Police is my favorite song on here. Now I've lost all credibility. So, but Airbag is good, Paranoid Android is excellent, Subterranean Homesick Alien is great, and then some of the later ones, The Tourist, Electioneering, my favorite tracks in here, but yeah, the best one is Karma Police. And yeah, I'm not one of the cool kids. It's time to really recognize that. And it's only going to get more uncool, because it's time to talk about Genesis. A lot of people will say, well, what's your favorite Genesis album? What is it? The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway? Maybe it's the Trail of the Trick of the Tail or whatever. Maybe, is it Foxtrot? What? Selling England by the Pound? What is your favorite Genesis album? It's this one. It's one without Peter Gabriel, and it's just the three dudes, and one of them's Phil Collins. This is my favorite Genesis album. At least it's not Invisible Touch, which I actually do think it sold more than this. So that's actually their most commercially successful album. I do not like that album. Yes, even I have limits, okay, in my uncoolness. Uncoolness has limits, and mine stops at Invisible Touch, and I'm definitely not any kind of a fan of that We Can't Dance album. I don't even think I've heard the whole thing all the way through, but just that song, I Can't Dance, is just stopped me in my tracks from ever even hearing the rest of that album. But yeah, this is a great album. This has That's All, which was the first Genesis song I ever heard. I still like that song. Home by the Sea is just a really atmospheric sounding, a great song. Illegal Alien has issues at this point in our lives. We'll skip that one. Taking It All Too Hard, I have always loved that song. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. I like Taking It All Too Hard. Just a Job to Do is probably my favorite song on here. Phil Collins is some sort of assassin or some sort of a revenge seeker. I can really just kind of live vicariously through that song. It's like, you know, you're not getting away. I'm coming after you. I got your name. I got your number. And I'm gonna, basically he's gonna assassinate. I think he's gonna assassinate somebody. I think that's what the song's about. Just a Job to Do is great. Mama, the first track on here, I don't like at all though. I don't like the Mama song that starts the whole thing off. So maybe some people start this album, hear that Mama song, and go and take it off. But yeah, the rest of the tracks on here, I don't remember Silver Rainbow. I need to listen to this again. Genesis, the self-titled album from 1983, is my favorite Genesis album, even though I just forgot completely one of the songs, Silver Rainbow. Huh. Yeah, but here's an album I would never forget because it's one of the first albums I ever heard in my life. I was listening to this when I was 3 years old on an 8-track, which was my brother's. It was the best 8-track he had, and I played it over and over again. I got my own copy. I got another copy. I got another copy after I had it on cassette. I had my own 8-track. I had, the U.S. one. I just recently, a few years ago, got a German pressing that sounds excellent. And I like a lot of this guy's albums, but his most commercially successful one is my favorite, Steve Miller Band and Fly Like an Eagle. The Genesis album is okay. It's just my favorite Genesis album, but it's still like a 3.5, 4-star album. This is an album I absolutely love. This is top notch. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. Done. I mean, this is right up there with Purple Rain. Of course, the radio hits get played all the time. Take the Money and Run, and Rockin' Me, and an edit of Fly Like an Eagle. But when you hear those songs in context of the album, they still sound a little more fresh than just hearing the single over and over on the radio. But it's the side 2, the swampy, like Sweet Marie, the real spaced out, The Window. That is an incredible track. I love that track. Serenade, where we're lost in space. It's, oh wow. I mean, this is one of those albums where you could drop the stylus at any point, lift it off a second later, and I can tell you exactly what part of what song it played. I can name that album in 1 second. Most albums like this have a bad track. With this one, it's You Send Me. We could all do without that one. Okay, nobody's perfect. No album is completely perfect, I guess. Well, some are, but this one's not, because it has You Send Me. The Sam Cooke cover, you just want to hear the Sam Cooke version, really. You don't want to do the Steve Miller one. But other than that, bam. Mercury Blues. How could I forget? Mercury Blues. It's got blues. It's got synthy, spacey kind of stuff. It's got swampy blues. It's got just, down home, dance, 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 where my chores are all done, I'm all cleaned up, and the cow's in the barn. It's just this is just like the Purple Rain I said. My favorite albums are when all the songs sound different, and this is definitely one of those. Starts out with the space intro and Wild Mountain Honey, and if you've never heard this and you're like, I don't like Steve Miller with that Rockin' Me Baby, check this out. Start to finish, I would think you would have a different perspective. Like I said, I still love a lot of other Steve Miller albums, but that one's definitely my favorite. And Book of Dreams is right up there too. So I think maybe I won't be so uncool with this next one, because I think a lot of people will agree with me on this next particular album. It is this person's most commercially successful album. It is their most critically acclaimed album. They have a few albums that are clunkers. They have a few albums that are pretty good, but nothing touches Transformer as far as Lou Reed's discography. Definitely my favorite Lou Reed album. This thing is stellar. It really puts you in a place and a time and an era, and really just kind of nails it home. Vicious starts it off. You hit me with a flower. That's still one of my favorite lines of any song. You're so vicious. You hit me with a flower. Perfect Day is a great kind of, it's like a love song, but it's not a sappy love song. It's not a cliched love song. It's got its own thing going on. Satellite of Love, same thing. I'm so free, ooh, ooh, which is, I think would work better more towards the beginning of the album. It's a strange song to be like second from last, I'm so free, unless he's finally breaking free after all this other stuff. But yeah, and then the Makeup is way ahead of its time. The song Makeup, and you get the visual on the back there, the David Bowie and Mark Ronson, all of those people helping Lou Reed out. When Lou Reed's just off on his own thing, it can kind of get a little difficult. But when he's got the people with him that and everybody's in sync, it can create magic like this album. And of course, Walk on the Wild Side. Come on. I mean, that's the centerpiece of the entire album. What an incredible song. What an incredible feel to that song. And it just really holds this whole album together. And this is the Speaker's Corner version, which sounds stellar. And I wish they were still around. I found out that Speaker's Corner is not a thing anymore. Unless I'm incorrect. If I'm not correct about that, please correct me and say, yes, Speaker's Corner is still putting out albums, because I would love to hear that. I would love to be wrong about that. But from what I understand, Speaker's Corner is not a thing anymore, which is really sad. And finally, I'm gonna have to confess, and this is gonna be my last one, because after this, I don't even know if you want to watch my videos anymore after I tell you that this is my favorite Sex Pistols album. Yeah. So yeah, the most commercially successful albums from a group or artist. Sometimes they're my favorite. A lot of times they're not. Metallica's self-titled album is not my favorite Metallica album. I feel like I need to redeem myself by mentioning a few things like that. But so there's plenty that are not, so maybe I'm not so uncool. Yeah, I am uncool. I admit it. I openly admit it. I'm Robert Fitton. Thank you so much for watching, especially the cool people putting up with this. Appreciate it. And hopefully I will talk to you again soon.